Yeah,
Um,
real quick,
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think that it's really important that we center that kind of mindset, right? The reality is that what socialists propose is a radical transformation of our society. It's a very precarious proposition. It's one without a clear path, right? Because current and previous socialist projects, um, you know, while often criticized, and we should give critical support to them, haven't succeeded in overthrowing capitalism. So we need to make sure that we're keeping the broad values in mind when we're out talking, because there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be things that we don't know, there's going to be policy questions that don't have clear answers, that we're going to try things and some things are going to work and some things are not going to work. Right. So it especially when our political culture and our broader culture in general really focuses in on exact immediate answers to things. The kind of radical transformation that we're talking about is not something that always has an immediate and clear and 100% accurate answer. So making sure that we're always rooting ourselves in these values, these core values of what we're trying to do, what we're trying to build for, what we want as a future. It's really important that we keep those things as centered as we can, because if we don't, we're going to get bogged down in policy wonk stuff. We're going to get pulled we're going to become the squad, right? We're going to get into power and we're going to get pulled right by the urge to be productive within a system that doesn't want the same thing as we do, and we're going to sacrifice our values for and our goals for short-term stuff. So it's always important when we're having this is a big thing that we're talking about, right? Overthrowing capitalism is a massive undertaking, a massive proposal. And so we really have to make sure that even as we get deeper and we see successes and failures, that we're always kind of returning and refreshing ourselves with that core idea of what we want and what we're trying to do.
Yep, exactly. Totally agree. So let's kind of keep that mindset here that we're trying to look at broader change and not just dabble in the technical stuff. That's, like Chris said, what'll happen within typical Democratic Party politics is even among the most progressive folks, they'll start arguing about, well, 40% tax rate on the rich is more progressive than the 35% tax rate. And it becomes so arbitrary and abstract, and it's disconnected from what do we actually want out of life. So, that's a very important mindset to keep as we
And it's important to understand too that, socialist policy is not a gradation, slightly to the left of a liberal progressive policy, right? One of the reasons that the Green Party is a socialist party, is an eco-socialist party, is because if we are just a slight shade to the left of the progressive wing of the Democrats, what's the point of being the Green Party, right? What we are calling for is not the same thing that's being called for by the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, who's more calling for a capitalist social democracy, a la what you see in Europe. What we're calling for is an end to private ownership and an end to capitalism, and putting socialism in its place. So, it's important that we are explicit in our socialism, because that is something that really separates us from even the left flank of the Democratic Party.
Yep, exactly. So maybe I should have added this to our outline here. A good starting point. So anyway, let me do our quick outline here and we'll get into it. So there's basically three main sections to the presentation today. First, I think before we can effectively talk about socialism, we have to talk about what socialism is not, how it compares to today's system, which is referred to as capitalism. So we'll talk a little bit about what capitalism is from a different perspective than you've probably heard it from other sources. We'll then talk about what socialism is and class struggle and just kind of like very basic concepts in socialism, and some of the arguments and disagreements between various socialist movements that we call tendencies. These are some of the unanswered questions that Chris was kind of hitting on a little bit there, that there hasn't been a global revolution against capitalism yet. So a lot of the questions about what does it look like when we get there are not completely answered yet. So we're working through it, but working through it toward our values, right? Toward what we want out of life. And then the third section will be very brief notes, obviously not a comprehensive history of some socialist struggle in the US, in particular, how it relates to where the Green Party came from, our socialist roots that really informed the beginning of the Green Party. And then lastly, we'll close out with a little kind of conclusion and where to go next. So you can look forward to these sections here.